Hi, I'm Scott Chally. I'm an author. I'm got 5 books written. I'm working on a sixth. It's not that I'm telling you about my books today. I'm talking about a new world order I had established or want to establish for the world. What it consists of is a new way of living that we can enjoy here in this world. Now, when I say what would make it better for the world, I would say, for instance, less poverty, different work hours, schedules, people that can live on their own, people off the streets that are living in the gutters, people around the world that are suffering. And when you look at falling nations or nations that are struggling, this new world order could allow people to live in standards of like queens and kings. And the reason why I say this is because a king and a queen doesn't need to work. They sit there and they get paid by their kingdom. In this case, the new world order that I speak of will be basically the same. Everybody would get paid. I take that on a basis of a small community of about 3,500 people, to where that when they get paid, they'll get paid $20,000 a year in a small community. Now, for instance, if you were living in New York or Chicago or Los Angeles, it may be $50,000 a year, depending on what it costs for living to survive in that area. The cost of living would be regulated worldwide through districts, counties, within regulations to sit there and meet the demands of the people. The thing about this new world order is that everybody will get paid, and I also put in the situation where if you want to work the regulated jobs for full time in the future would be 6-hour days. If you choose to work 8, 10, or more, you would get paid extra money, but it is not a requirement. The thing about it is, if you can receive $20,000 a year for one person, and 2 people in a couple relationship, you'd be making $40,000 a year in a small community, or maybe in a big community like New York, Los Angeles, Chicago. You may be making $50,000 for a couple, maybe making $100,000. Anything extra is just extra money for this new world order. You say that will not work because you can't pay everybody money. The thing is that I say that it works is this would be a one world government. Africa, China, Middle East, England, or Europe, or wherever you're at in the world, we're all coming together. It'll be one United Nations. There won't be no discriminatory acts about people getting paid money if they don't deserve it or not, because everybody will deserve it. And the thing about it is, how this works is that everybody gets paid, but there will not be no federal, state, or local taxes. Now you're saying, now there's no money coming in. How will that work? Well, we're taking this out of nowhere. This is a one-time kitty that everybody draws from. The way it works, or the beautiful way that it works, if you control basically what your basic living expenses would be, that's what you got to control on the market. So you'd have to control your housing, about what it would get paid per month based on what you would make. You control your food, your new autos, your insurance, and your utilities. If there are other categories, it could be changed later on if it has a fluctuation that is unstable for the economy. The thing is, once you control the economy on a set price that they got to provide, that means the inflation will never climb. It would stay constant and everybody would sit there and benefit. When I say, for instance, a gallon of milk may cost $4 at the grocery store. In a year, that gallon of milk, which is controlled by the government, cannot raise more than $4.40. That is 10% of the value of the product that it can be raised to per year. If the rate went up on the cost of living, the following year, people would get paid more to accept for the cost of living. The controlled areas or the branches that it funnels down through the five, if it fluctuates more than 10%, they will be fined and situations may occur. For instance, if a food store, which is the necessity, would happen to ignore the regulations, and for instance, if they were selling that $4 a gallon of milk for $6 or $8, they would be considered as a warning and fined to sit there and establish the proper rate for the people. If they do not comply after several attempts contacting them, it would be taken over by the government to control the necessity of what needs to be done. Not saying that that'll happen, but there is procedures and placements that you got to follow through with to make this new world happen. This new world, if you imagine you can take schools and have everybody be entitled to schools. I figured at $25,000 a year per child that's graduating school to go to college, if they maintain a 2.0 or better in school or equivalency test that they can go to school on to establish a 2.0 rating or to qualify for college, they would be entitled to that up to 8 years. Now, that's just schooling. Let's say, for instance, medical. What about medical? We need medical. Everybody relies on medical. Medical will sit there and be paid for everybody. You see, the government has an unlimited amount of money. They can do anything they want to do with. You get all this money coming in, and you may save it, you may have extra, you may be worth millions, but you're still going to pay the same price for the milk within 10% or any other groceries that you buy. Your cars, new autos, would be priced to where they won't fluctuate more than 10% coming off the market or the assembly line every year. And when you look at used cars, they're not going to sell for more than new cars. And then the same way with housing. What would a one-bedroom house or an apartment cost to rent? Now, new houses may cost more, but if you set the rate at a used house to be $500 a month or $1,500 a month, it all depends on where you're located. That would be guaranteed every year within 10% of the rate that it could fluctuate within. Now, you're saying, would that be right to control that? You could. It's only affecting certain parts of the economy to allow the economy to work and function as a prosperous world. There is like medical. People can stay in their homes. there will be a percentage that will, well, it'll pay for all like prosthetic limbs and stuff like that, and emergency needs, bed care needs, whatever needs to be taken care of, the medical aspect, it'll be paid for. All prescriptions will be paid for, except for over the counter like cough drops, cough syrup, aspirin, flu medicine, stuff like that you wouldn't worry about. But that would be on the basics. And I suppose if you wanted to get that to the doctor, you could, because the government is looking out to take care of the people. The people is what we have on this earth. What would this do if this went into effect? One, there won't be poverty on the streets. That means crime is going to go away. There's still going to be some addicts and stuff like that that may abuse the system, but there'll be support groups and help out there for them. In the future, the crime will be down. Places will be beautiful, because everybody, when you're looking at Africa or China, they can build their roads up, their cities up through the government to establish a beautiful kingdom for them to live in. If they got unlimited money to establish a great world, we're using it, but we're using it through the government as an entity that is a powerful source to rely on, that can give you luxuries in this life to live in. We can have the best schools, we can have the best roads, we can have the best parks. I also even thought of, for instance, what if in this new world we live in, and we just, for instance, wanted to drive our car without paying any gas. The governments, which would be one government in the future, could establish all the oil fields into their control as the United Nations. And that United Nation government could sit there and allow everybody to have the access to fill up their car without having to pay $1 or nothing. Free gas for eternity until it runs out. And of course, like your ethanol, your biofuels will have to be provided in this economy as well to make the natural oils last longer. But the thing is, if you sit there and that's just one aspect, free fuel. Well, you're saying the gas stations will close up and they won't make no money. Well, what if you paid that gas station 10 cents a gallon? Well, they're making on 10 gallons, they're making $1. 20 gallons, $2. Or whatever it costs them to maintain the purpose of them staying function, that'll get paid through the government. And the government can allow all kinds of things. One, we can do away with military, or we could sit there and have one united base set up around the world. For instance, in China, Russia, America, in Europe, and have generals from each of the countries and people, percentage-wise, to establish control of these military bases. Not saying that Americans run an American base, because American might have power to sit there and say, well, we want to do this, and that wouldn't be appropriate. But if you have an American base and it was ran by the Russians, well, the Russians are going to be out of control to say, we're not going to act on that because we're a United Nation and we act as one. The only reason why we would need military to even be here is if there is a possible threat of alien invasions, which we don't know, and we don't think, or I don't think that's ever going to happen. But the thing is, I would say do away with the military within 5 years. And I would say that it would be peace in the world, never having to worry about going through another war. When things are decided, for instance, right now there's about 196 different countries. And out of the 196 different countries, I was thinking taking them, combining the small countries that are really small and putting them into other countries, and they'll be part of that. They'll still have the name of their country, but it would be differently ran through the three countries or the two countries sitting together to be counting as one. There would be 150 countries and one person deciding the breaking vote on the United Nations to control the council to what comes in for what happens in the world to be favored or decided on through a committee. And it'll be controlled through the 150 countries or the representation of who would want to establish for the people of what wants to be done in the near future. Now, you're thinking, that's going to be controlling. But if America wanted to, say, increase their retirement spending for the government to make a better pension for a person to work, they could do that through the board. Now, if enough countries vote on it, it'll happen. But besides that point, I don't want to get you involved too far off to the left field. Let me think here. When you look at what this world could be like, it's amazing. We can live in peace, harmonically living with greatness. We can have everything. We can have a great system, a good school, good life, good parks. We don't have to work. We don't have to work. And the reason why I say that, everybody at 18 would start getting the money once they move out of the house. That's the legal age. That's where everything happens. That's when they're considered an adult. And the reason why I say at 18, that's a functional age when they're basically done with high school. They can sit there and work for 20 years. They can work part-time jobs. They can work full-time jobs. They can work 6 hours a day, or they can work 12 hours a day, whatever they choose. But the thing is, now how I got this broken down is that since the companies don't no longer have to pay any taxes in at the end of the year, and they don't have to provide no more medical insurance because the medical out there is paid for by the government. So they'll never have to, another company's going to prosper. But the companies, for instance, if a person makes $10 an hour and they pay in $3 an hour, that's 30% of their wages. Now, the person will take home $10 and $3 will go to the government. And in reverse time, or later on in time when they pull it out, it'll be like 30% of what you made for the last 20 years. So when you're 38, you'll receive a pension, whether you worked $1 worth or you worked $100,000 worth. It'll come out being paid to you monthly until you pass. Now, that is something that's great, and that would be great. There's two pensions that you can get. There's one from 18 to 38 and from 38 to 58. At 58, you can make two pensions. Instead of getting paid 30% on one pension, you'll get 30% on another pension, but you'll automatically receive that first pension at 38, and you'll still make the money that you make at your job. And then after 58, you'll be making 60% of your money to sit there and live off of. So you can buy extra cars, a really nice house. You can go out and eat on the town. You can go to sports events. You can live life fully. Now, not everybody's going to work, but I think more people want to work if they only had to work 6 hours a day. They would have a full day in front of them. Another thing, there is so much that when you look at this is so great. There's things I'm not covering, and I've got them in my books. The Beepin' Brothers Road Success has got a good comical story in the beginning, a little explicit, but it's to be a realist. And another book of mine that talks about it real good is Scott Chally Believes, and they're both good books. I would like to say I'm willing to lead this world forward, to take my new world order, to establish it for the people. I think the people will live in prosperity, greatness. They will be something that is superb. It was written in the Bible that this new thing that the Savior comes forward to bring to the people is going to make 1,000 years of peace. Am I that person? Am I coming forward with this? I want you guys to make a decision. And if you feel what I have talked to you here today is okay or good or even great, pass it on to other people. Tell them where to go to find this. Tell them it's scottchally.com or my Scott Chally, the author. I do have a website, and it's www.scottchally.com. And there's other videos. There's some good videos, and there's about my books and about songs and just different things on my website. Check it out. Pass it to your friends. Share this if you can. Well, there's a lot to the world order. There's so much I could talk about, but I didn't want to make this too long. I love y'all. God bless it. God bless you. God bless the world. Let's hope for the great future. Amen.